Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners.
Goldylocks Productions presents the Inspiration from Spirit show with your host, Reverend Lea Chapin. The focus and goal for this show is to assist humanity in the awakening of a new level of consciousness that will bring peace to planet Earth.
Welcome, I'm Lea Chapin. Welcome to Inspiration from Spirit. It is March 22nd, 2021. We're in another year. Happy spring and so excited it's springtime, even though I live in Florida and it's lovely here. It is always exciting to have spring. I love spring. Spring and summer are my favorite, but I think spring, it really is my true favorite season. New beginnings. So I'm so excited. So today I want to share with you a little bit about my new beginnings that happened 28 years ago. I began channeling 28 years ago, March 21st, 1993, and I began to channel my first spiritual guide named Grand. And so every year I honor Grand, and I allow him, I shouldn't say allow, but I honor him, and on my weekly Mary Magdalene calls that I do, that I've done for over 15 years, once a year, Grand comes and brings his message, and his message today was about new beginnings. And so today I wanted to invite my wonderful friend Karen Kaplan, who's been with us on our show before. She's the author of Descendants of Rygard, and she's writing a new book called Conjoined. And so I invited her here because she knows me to celebrate and honor my 28-year channeling anniversary. So thank you, Karen.
Well, thank you for having me. And I'm just honored to be a part of this anniversary, happy anniversary with you and Grand. And I'm happy to ask you some of the questions. Now I'm at the other end. Before you would always interview me. And now I get to interview you. So I'm excited.
Oh, good. I was going to say, I like your new haircut.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. So good.
So thank you, sweetie. So yes, and before we start, I wanted to give a shout out just to say thank you again for all the sponsors and for Dr. Lauren Love in the Boston area, technicians there, the nurses, the technicians, the staff, all those who have donated to Goldylocks Productions and to my show as well. So thank you for your support, and all those who have also supported our shows through the super chats. And so I want to again thank you so much, Dr. Lauren Love and the Boston area staff. So here we go, Karen.
All right.
Take it away.
So I'll take it away. So let's first begin with your professional background. Can you tell your viewers how you started out as a psychotherapist and how you slowly weaved your way into into spirituality and to do spiritual teaching? So can you share a little bit?
I received my master's degree in 1989, and I have a master's in counselor education. I always wanted to get into psychology and be a counselor, even when I was a young girl. So I was really devoted about getting a master's degree. And so it was just really a strong desire to move into that field. So I must have known that was a part of my soul growth or part of my soul plan, even at a young age, unbeknownst to me, because I was really driven about that. So I was really blessed to be able to get my education and training. And then I moved into the mental health world and worked in a psychiatric unit, a short-term psychiatric unit. And then I worked in the mental health, I can't even talk today, excuse me. I worked in the mental health centers. And so I was what was called a generalist therapist at that time. And so I worked with a variety of people who had all kinds of conditions, from schizophrenia to depression to suicide, and worked with a myriad of individuals. And about 1987, I was working at the psychiatric unit, and I had this feeling, which must have been what I call a soul calling, that there was a better way of helping people than what I was doing, but I didn't know what it was. It was just a sense, and I know that was a part of my soul now. But I was very young then, so I couldn't identify that. But I remember thinking that very strongly. There's a better way of helping people than what's happening here. And then lo and behold, in March of 1993, I began to spontaneously channel the words of my first spirit guide, Grand. And prior to that, about 7 years prior, I had had a reading from a lady, and she told me that I could channel. And I was working at the mental health center at that time. And I started working with the pendulum and started automatic handwriting. And then I guess, as I say, life got in the way and I completely forgot about that. And I shifted careers and I left the mental health world and I became a massage therapist. And I was working in my massage therapy practice. And that was my focus. I thought I was going to be helping people do emotional release work through body work. But Spirit had a different idea for me. So on March 21st, 1993, as I was getting a Reiki session, I began to spontaneously channel the words of the spirit guide Grand that this psychic had told me about 7 years prior. Hadn't thought about channeling, hadn't thought about Grand. I was in this new career, and lo and behold, I began to bring the words of Spirit through me, to my surprise and to delight. And so every year since that time, the last 28 years on my channeling anniversary, I honor Grand for coming to me as I worked with him specifically for 4 years. And then I moved on and started working with the archangels, the Holy Family, and then I became a versatile channel for Spirit. But my work as a psychotherapist prepared me for my work as a spiritual counselor because I combined my education and training with my ability to hear Spirit to help people with their life issues. People call me like they do as a psychotherapist, but I bring the information in from a higher perspective.
I know personally how you've helped me because at the time when I met you, I was searching for something more, for some purpose, and you have been able to help me with understanding my soul purpose, and through channeling spirits, all different spirits, which is a whole new way of seeing things for me, coming from a very conventional religious background.
Mm-hmm.
So that combined with your ability as a psychotherapist to then bring me more information and guidance from these messages helped me grow. So I understand how when you can combine these two fields together, you're like, for me, you were truly able to help me live with my purpose and understand what I needed to do in life. And so that I am great gratitude toward you.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So as you mentioned, yesterday was your 28th anniversary with Grand. Is there anything you want to share with us about the spirit Grand? I just out of my own curiosity, did he live on Earth? Did he ever live on Earth? Who was he and why did he come to you? Or is there anything else you want to share with us about Grand?
Thank you for asking. Grand came to me and told me that we had lived together in at least one other incarnation and that we were married, and he was deeply in love with me. And so he's been devoted to me apparently ever since that incarnation. And so he's chosen to come as my spirit guide because of his devotion and love to me. And so we must have lived, I think we lived in Trinidad. We lived in the Caribbean. That's really all that I know about Grand, except about 3 years ago when I was at a psychic fair, and I got a lady who does portraits of your spirit guides. And so I went to her and she started drawing this being. I didn't know who it was. And I saw the picture and I go, oh, okay, I don't know who that is. And she goes, well, you'll probably figure it out. Well, it wasn't about 2 seconds later, I was walking away from her booth. I heard, this is the picture of Grand. So I actually have a portrait of Grand now and what he looks like. And I have to laugh because he looks a little bit like Jay Leno. He has that square jaw. Oh, you saw it. You were here at my house. Did you see him?
I didn't know that was Grand.
Oh, that's Grand, right by the kitchen.
Well, yeah, that is one devoted husband.
Yeah, that's the truth.
All husbands should be that devoted to their wives.
They really should. Yes, he's very devoted to me. So today he came and brought the message and was talking about being devoted. So how he was devoted to me and to all of us that were on my call and who were listening. So yes, that's all I really know about Grand. He hasn't talked about himself much, except that we were husband and wife, and he's very dedicated to helping me with my mission work. So this is all probably unusual to some people who don't understand this, but
well, I can say this was at first very highly unusual for me, because when I came to see you, all I knew about was, or that I recognized, was that souls are immortal, that there's life after death, and that there are certain people like you or other mediums or psychics that can contact deceased relatives and friends. That's all I knew.
Uh-huh.
When you started telling me about all these spirits and angels, it was like, whoa, this is like a lot for me to handle. But as I got to know you and learn more about life beyond death and all about the spiritual world, it became more and more familiar, and I resonated with it a whole lot more. And I find this whole world of spirituality such a blessing to know and learn and be involved with. And you have been really my greatest teacher, spiritual guide, and friend. So
thank you, honey. Thank you.
So I'm truly honored to be doing this show. Okay, so that was Gran. That was the information that was important. So has Gran made an impact on your life, on your spiritual life, your professional life? I know that you're an author. You've written a couple of books. You're working on your third one. Is Gran the one that's been influencing you, or are there other guides that help you out? Can you share?
Well, I worked with Grant specifically for 4 years in the early days, and he, again, was my primary guide at that time. And then I started working with the archangels. And I remember one day Archangel Michael came and he said, "Don't you remember me?" And I'm like, "No, I don't remember you. I'm really sorry. I really don't remember you." I'm like, "Okay, am I supposed to remember you?" I'm like, then I didn't remember him. So then I had to laugh. So I started working with the archangels, Archangel Raphael and Gabriel and Michael and Uriel. And then in 1997, I started working with the Holy Family. And that was another shock, because I believed in God, but I did not consider myself religious. And I equated that with Catholicism in some ways, I guess, because I thought Mother Mary's coming. I'm not Catholic. And that was my ignorance too. But I come to learn that I lived during the time of the Holy Family, and so that's why they started coming. And then after the Holy Family came, then I started working with many other beings. So I work with many of the galactic beings, the Syrians, the Andromedans, the Pleiadians. I worked with the Pleiadians quite a bit. I work with Isis, Metatron. So I'm considered a versatile channel. So I am an open channel who is able to tap into universal wisdom through any being who is of the light. And I'm also a psychic medium in the sense that I can tap into those that have crossed over. So as we have done with helping you with your book that we'll probably talk about here shortly, but I'm also able to tap into deceased loved ones. So from that time when Gran came, I had no clue on that day what was going to be happening to me, or how my life would expand, or I'd write books, or I'd be able to do all these things. So I tell people that as you receive the information about your own spirit guide, they do have a path for you. And so if you're willing to devote and understand your soul pathway, your spirit guides are there to help guide you.
Okay, so we all actually have our own spirit guides. And
yes.
Okay. And often you're able to, if someone wants to see you and work with you, you're able to let them know if they want who their spirit guides are. You can also share with them and help them understand their soul purpose. And okay.
Yeah, I just taught a class this weekend where actually Grand came and shared people in the class their spirit guide with them and what the spirit guide wanted to help them with. So I just did that on Saturday. And then I'm going to be teaching another class about your soul purpose and how to tap into your intuition and begin to listen to your soul. So I offer a variety of classes. I also teach a Akashic Records class. Every month I teach a teleconference class that has a theme to it. But right now I'm working with the information of the Essenes. I've worked with the Sacred Flames book from Aurelia Louise Jones, The Seven Sacred Flames. So I teach a variety of classes, and as to answer your question, yes, that's what I did this Saturday. I gave people the names of their spirit guides and how the spirit guides are helping them in their life. In honor of Gran, who came 28 years ago, he got to teach a class with me.
Oh,
so
that's awesome. That's awesome. I know that one of my favorite classes that I've taken with you was on past life regression, that you've shared with people their most recent past life that has the greatest effect on their life today. And that was incredibly remarkable, helping each of us understand the influences of other past lives. And it's just fascinating. Your work is fascinating. I love it.
I like doing past lives because that's a part of what I must have been feeling that day in the psychiatric unit when I thought there was a better way of helping people. Because a lot of our issues do come from our past lives. If we have relationships issues, if we have addiction issues, if we have health issues, if we just have issues in general, we have phobias, a lot of this comes from our past lives. We may not say, well, why am I like this? I don't have any reason to be this way. Or I keep attracting the same kind of partner over and over to me. Or I'm in a situation where, I have addiction or substance abuse issues, or, you come in with health issues. These things can be understood from our past lives. Not that it has to be what I want to say. It's not necessarily karmic. It's just simply that we come together as part of a. We come with our soul with lessons. And so we come with people, situations, and circumstances that will be for the highest growth of our soul, is what I'm trying to say. So as we understand these past lives, then we can understand how our soul evolves and how important it is for us to really live truly from the soul, not just our personality. We come in with our personalities and our lives, and oftentimes we think that's all that there is just our third dimensional life. But really we're here to evolve and to move forward into our soul growth. That's really why we're here on this planet. And to be in service to humanity and to the great God source.
And the Grand has picked the right woman to help us with the world needs to, we need more kinder, gentler people, healers, and I'm so happy that you are one of those healers that has been asked to help others in our world. So you've worked on 2 books, if you want to tell us the titles of your first 2 books, but now you're also working on a 3rd book. So can you share a little bit about your 3 books, but mostly, what are you working on now?
Well, my first book that I channeled was in 2003, years and years ago, and it's called The 12 Mastery Teachings of Christ. The true essence of Christ's teachings. It's a small manual, very much like an inspirational manual. And there are lessons that Christ wanted to share or brought forth in his teachings. The first one is love, and the last one is joy. Okay. And so it's about moving or changing or holding the vibration of the essence of Christ's teachings and begin to live them and embody them. And then my second book, which I completed in 2017, is called The Love Story of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. It's called Divine Union, and it's about their life together as twin flames, how they married, how they had children, and how they have brought forth their sacred contract of holding the sacred masculine, sacred feminine energy for our planet, because we are now in these most perilous times where we are now living, and it's really important to be in balance. And so that was their sacred mission. And so the 3rd book that I'm writing is the Messages from the Essenes. Jesus was a member of the Essene community from Israel. And so in 2018, when I traveled to Jordan, I heard the messages from the Essenes that day when we were sitting at the Sea of Galilee, and I heard them say, "We've been waiting for you." And it was to my surprise, I was like, oh, okay. And I did a message and brought their message there at the Dead Sea. And for those of you who may follow my YouTube channel, that message is on my YouTube channel, Lea Chapin. Just Google Lea Chapin and you'll find the message from the Essenes. But now in January of 2021, they started coming stronger. And to my delight, I'm now writing their messages and their story, and their voices want to be heard, and they want to share about how they lived and how the importance of, again, living in balance. So everything is about coming back into balance, because we are in such polarity now between love and fear and separation here in our current society, that all of these messages are really about returning to balance, living in our heart, living from our soul purpose. And so that's what the messages of the scenes are about, of how to truly live in alignment with the great God source, and with Mother Earth, and within ourselves, being able to embody these energies of sacred balance so that we can be the change we wish to see on our planet.
Right. Yeah. It's a global. What's happening globally is the as you mentioned, such a disparity between the love and the hate, and it's just, you can sense it all throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
But another comment is, the interesting thing is that in the news recently, archaeologists in Israel just were able to find more scrolls
Mm-hmm.
in the caves, and this was they think this was from the time of the Essenes, and that the
Mm-hmm.
Essenes had actually, these were pieces of the Bible. So it's interesting that that's coming into light the same time as your information and news about the Essenes is.
Well, I don't think that's an accident by any means, because they're saying it's time, because our voices need to be heard, they need to be understood, and they have a powerful message to help us to live in what we call the spiritual laws of God, to live in harmony and balance, and again to live in respect of all of life, because as we see it, or I don't know how to say it that way, but it appears to me when we see things in the media that people are not respectful of each other, that there's so much hatred and division. And there's a lot of wonderful, wonderful people, but we happen to see this on the media. So I think that taints us in many ways. But the Essenes, I don't think that's an accident that those Dead Sea Scrolls have been brought to attention, because they really, really, really want to bring forth how they lived and help us to move in to living in balance with all of life, and returning back to, again, the principles of God, and living in nature, perhaps living simplicity, but living in respect and honor of ourselves and all of life. So I didn't find I thought that's not a coincidence, especially since they just started coming to me now just a couple months ago, very strongly.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing that it's all coinciding together.
Now, you're a Jewish woman, but did you know about the Essenes? You
I
probably did.
I knew about these scenes. I went to Orthodox day schools, and I took a class in high school about the Jewish history of the Jews all throughout, from the beginning of time, from the time of Abraham all the way through Moses, when they went into Israel, King Solomon, King David, all the kings and judges, and learned about the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, or the Persian, all these empires, and how it affected the Jews. So I learned my history, understood Jewish history through the different reign of empires throughout the Middle East. And I knew at that time that there was a huge division in Israel at the time. There was the temple. The second temple was built there. It was in Jerusalem. It was built for a while. And there was a division in the Jews among the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But then there was a group of an Essenes community. Yet they weren't, they were, I think, where did they live? Up north, or?
But they lived, I never say it right. Is it quorum? Is that how you say it? I never say that right. And then they left Jerusalem and wandered out into the wilderness, and then they dispersed. Even when I went to India, in southern India, in Kerala, in 2018, the Essenes were known to have migrated there. So they migrated all over, but they left that area and started dispersing.
Yeah. And so I had learned somewhat about them, but never through that's the extent of my history of the Essenes. And with the Dead Sea Scrolls, you learn more about them, and the pieces of their Bible, the Torah. So you get to learn a little bit more about them and their culture and their whole way of life. Yeah.
And I want to, I really want to step back a bit and talk about a little bit about your work and how I've helped you with your books. Because our story is fascinating. So Karen and I want to preface this first about how we met. And as I recall it, I had a client that had connected me to your friend. Or no, your friend connected me to his client to me.
Right.
And then
well, let me stop you there. My friend is a psychotherapist, a phenomenal psychotherapist. He was working with a patient, a client, just a short period of time. Within that short period of time, she came back to him one week feeling phenomenal. And my friend, the psychotherapist, said, what changed? You're feeling, she said that she went to see you. So my friend, the psychotherapist, gave me your name and number because he knew I was interested in more of a spiritual way of healing. Yet, I was intrigued with that. So he gave me your card and I called you. And I called you because I wanted you to come over and do a class in front of a group of family and friends.
And I did.
And you did. And at the end of your talk, you said something about the Jewish people are they need healing. They've been a traumatized people and they are in need of help in healing. And I, along with some of my friends there, took this very personally.
She's crazy.
Where is she coming up with this? There's something off with her. I wish she would leave now. I wanted you to leave. I was like, I felt like, what did she say? This woman who doesn't know me, who doesn't know the Jewish community, who doesn't know the community here on the North Shore, what's she saying? Why is she? So I just didn't understand it. And you left my house gladly.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
Get rid of her.
Yeah. After a few months, I said, well, wait a second. There's some truth about what you had said. And I started to think about it more and more. And then I finally called you up and said, can we talk? And then you became a teacher for several years. Yeah. And then my friend.
Yes, I remember that time because I was in St. Petersburg, Florida, and lived there. And I remember standing by my chair. I don't know if I was talking to you. I think I was talking to Ross. And I just got off the phone and I thought, I'm supposed to go. I just felt called. I was supposed to go help the Jewish people. And it was just really strange. I was like, I just felt like I thought this is really bizarre to me too, because it was just like, I have to go there and help the Jewish people. And my husband didn't really think I should go too far away or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it's like, no. I just remember I have to go help the Jewish people. Like I was insistent I have to help the Jewish people. I'm not Jewish, but I'm like, I have to help them. And it was just it was sort of the strangest thing, sort of like that day when I heard in my head on the psychiatric unit, there was a better way of helping people. Didn't know really what that message was, but it was sort of the same soul calling. So fast forward into when I met you and you thought I was a nut. I went and did my thing there and not ever thinking anything, just going and doing my work because I teach a lot and just leave the seed of knowledge. And then lo and behold, you called me and we actually became friends, and we've come to realize we're soul family, we're soul sisters. So we really have a contract to help each other. So we are in many ways the complete opposite. but we resonate together, and we do have a soul contract together. And that's why I went to find you through all these other channels and finally got myself to find you. And thank God you awakened. And so I'm going to let you talk a little bit about your work and again how that soul contract came together.
So after working with you for, I think I worked with you for a couple of years, but that first session with you, you said, Karen, you're filled with a lot of anger here. I said, no, I'm not. And you said,
Get out of my house.
I'm sensing that you need to forgive your father. I had explained to you why I couldn't forgive him for religious reasons. And then after working with you for a while, I realized that, yeah, I do need to forgive my father, and I need to let go of this anger and bitterness and resentment toward him in order for me to heal, to be at peace, and to move on. So it took me about 1.5 years to finally be able to say to my father on his deathbed and asked him for forgiveness. So then I had written a book called Descendants of Rygrid, Learning to Forgive. And I published the book, and fortunately I've been able to speak throughout Chicago. I'm still doing speaking engagements up through Chicago. I spoke in New York. I spoke at a women physicians conference in Germany. I've been in Poland speaking. And so it's just been a very healing, a cathartic experience writing the book and then speaking. And the book is about for a daughter forgiving her father, who was a Holocaust survivor, who had come from such a traumatic upbringing during those 4 years during the Holocaust, that my father couldn't see beyond his anger and his bitterness. And then he had spewed all that on my family. So it's a wonderful story, but you have helped me realize the importance of forgiveness. And so, so I've written that book, and I thought that was the last book I was going to write. One day while I was speaking in the audience, a gentleman asked me, so you've given us information about your father, who was named Avram Stein Sapir as a boy, and you shared with us the lineage, which was very interesting. But what about this man named Ari Kaplan, who you're named after? So my dad changed his name to Ari Kaplan. So this man wanted to know who is this man named Ari Kaplan? And I thought, well, I'd like to learn about him and learn about who he was. After all, my last name is Kaplan, which I've kept. So I spent 6 months trying to figure out research, going through the United States Holocaust Museum, archives in the Mormon Church library, and going in websites on Jewish ancestry. I couldn't find any information. So one day I called you and said, Lee, I'm having difficulty trying to find information about this man. Where else should I look? Can you like channel
Tune
in and tell me where do I look? And you said to me, well, just contact the spirit of Ari Kaplan. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. I never met the guy. How would he know who I am? And you're like, well, he's a spirit. We'll figure this out. If he comes through, he comes through. And I said, okay, I have nothing to lose. So we had a bunch more sessions. We contacted this spirit named Ari Kaplan, who actually was an entity that invaded my father's body. In Yiddish, we call it a dybbuk. He was a dybbuk. He invaded my father's body. He shared with me so much information about my father, his life during the war, how he survived in those forests for 3.5 years, how he survived in the deportation in the camps after the war, and how he made his way to America because he was he stayed within my father till the day my father died. So I'm so grateful that that you were able to connect and give me this information about this man. The story is incredible. It's unbelievable. It's illogical, but yet I believe it because he makes so much sense. He's given me this information that only someone who lived inside my father's body and his head would have only known the answers. So I'm so grateful. So my second book is called Conjoined, and with your help, and you are a part of this book. Half of the book is based on our sessions with him.
And they were interesting.
Oh, God, they blow your mind. The first half of the book, I reiterate a bit about Rygrid, the town where my father was raised. I talk a little bit about my ancestry. I give a little bit of information about when I had gone to Poland and visit my father's town, and a little bit background about my family, so that a reader who may have not read my first book will then be able to zoom right in and understand the second book. So I am in the midst of writing the book. It's being edited, and hopefully by the end of the year, I will have my second book, and that will be the last book I'm ever writing.
Never say never. And see, if I never contacted Grand and Grand never showed up on that day, I wouldn't be helping you.
Right. So you're helping me by the spiritual life. It opens your eyes, it opens your minds, it opens yourself up to a new way of thinking. I've been conditioned growing up. It's like a cult in my religion, and conditioned to think and believe that this is the only way, the best way to believe in God. And what I understand now is that there are so many paths to understand God. There's so many paths, and just to be open and accepting, loving is really what works for me, and to trying to understand people. Knowing that we've had past lives, it helps me more understand and have more compassion for someone. Knowing about this whole spiritual life gives me more compassion for others and helps me move forward. And understanding my purpose, which is so critical for me, has helped me live a happier life. So with that, I thank you.
You are welcome.
Who had started this whole journey for you.
Yeah. Did you know about Grand? Have I talked about him before? I can't remember.
No, you told me about him when I first met you, and I thought, I don't know who this spirit is or what she's talking about, but okay.
Yeah.
It's all new to me. This whole, yeah.
Well, that's why I like to honor him, because his love and devotion to me and being my primary spirit guide. I don't work with him a lot anymore because I work with so many other beings, and so I guess he gets crowded out, but that's why every year when I do my Monday morning Mary Magdalene call, once a year on our channeling, he gets to speak and have the showcase. But he's welcome, invited anytime to speak, but he doesn't always show up. But it's always interesting, how spirit brings two people together. That's why it's so fascinating, because I honor you, and I'm grateful for your friendship. And I just want to say, publicly, I'm so grateful for you that you have run with this, because I work with lots and lots of people, and people take the information at whatever level that they need it, which is fine and well, but you're just going the long haul. And so you're like my primary student, you're like number one. So it's like, and that crazy day when, you're like, get this girl out of my house. And, I had no idea. I was just doing whatever I was supposed to do. But I just remember thinking I was supposed to help the Jewish people. I had to go to your house. It was just like, I was driven to do this. And so here we are today, and you're trying to make your first book into a movie. And we're, hoping that the second book will also be in a movie, because it will be a paranormal experience, but really a true story. So it's just really been an honor to be able to share this and to help. And so, again, as we work with our spiritual team and we open up to our soul purpose, we don't know the magnificence of really what's going to happen in our lives. So don't limit yourself. So thank you, Karen, for not limiting yourself and your beliefs.
So I would recommend that if someone has an issue, which we all do, personal issues, that it's important that they seek help. And I've recommended you to so many people, and often you will come and share the truth. And well, you give the truth, but you give as much as what people can hear. And when you work with me, I want to hear everything, because I understand that what you share with me is something that I need to learn and I need to grow with. So I'm always open to learning and growing. And that is why I recommend my friends and people who are in need of help to you, if they're open to this spiritual way of thinking. So yeah, you've been so helpful. So
well, it's a fast way to work. Back in the olden days when people used to lay on the couch and they used to go to their psychiatrist, and they go for years and years and years and talk and do whatever they were doing. And even in traditional therapy now, like I said, I knew that there was a better way of helping people, or felt that. The information that I get through spirit taps into the universal wisdom of your own soul. So I'm able to access that information that I would have no way of being able to access as a traditional psychotherapist. So it cuts through the chase. We get right to the information quickly, and it works with people fast. Part of my work when I do private sessions, it's informational. It'll give you the information of what you need, but also if you're ready, Spirit will come and actually do spiritual healings and clearings with people in those sessions. And so it's like a 1-2 punch. It's like, boom, get right to it. And, within the time frame of however long I work with someone, the person walks away with a new spiritual perspective. And that's really, it's comforting to me to be able to if I'm going to do something, I want to get it done. And, within the hour or half an hour I work with someone, you have clarity.
And it works great with me because I'm an impatient person. The last thing I'm going to do is sit in the therapist's office for 6 months and divulge my whole life. And then finally, after the 6 months, maybe they'll give me some kind of offer some advice. Whereas our first session, like, you need to forgive your father. They're sharing all this anger. I'm like, how does she know that? But
get her out of my house.
Yeah. So it was so helpful. And yes, and I always highly recommend you. And just to reiterate, I've had a script written about my first book, and it's made its way to receiving the top award at the LA Live Film Fest. But due to COVID, there was no film fest. It was virtual, but it was, I wasn't able to network and meet the right people to get this going. So I'm hoping this new book, along with the script, will create even a add to the script and to create a movie with these paranormal experiences of the Holocaust. So it should be an exciting book.
Maybe.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to share about your classes, the work that you do? Maybe put it up on like your name, or put up any information you want for others to
my website.
You. Yeah.
Well, my website is www.leachapin.com. You can certainly contact me at leachapin@gmail.com if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me about hosting me, because hopefully when this COVID is over, I can go back and travel. I travel both nationally and internationally, and teach classes and workshops and do readings, around the country. And I've done that internationally as well. But right now I'm doing a lot of work through teleconference calls and through locally here in Florida. We're able to to meet in small groups. And so I've been able to work with some people in small groups here. So that's been really nice. And then again, most of my work is done on the telephone that I work with people with my private reading. So it's important for each of you to understand that we here on this planet are now, we all have a purpose, and that we're here by, as I say, divine appointment. And so if you're really interested in understanding your soul purpose or your soul mission, the work that I do can help you to direct you to get into that, just like that's what happened with Karen. So that's why Karen had a mission that I was, again, to be the catalyst for. And so it's important for people to understand that we all have a reason to be here. We have a mission. We may not understand it. Just like mine 28 years ago, where I've evolved from working as a psychotherapist, as a massage therapist. When I started channeling, I never would have thought my life would take me in this direction. I never would have dreamed that. Never thought I would write books. Never thought I would have a podcast. Never thought a lot of things. Never thought I'd be helping someone, make their book into a movie. So we can never limit really what we're doing. If we say yes and we're open to our soul and what our soul is calling us to do, we have tremendous divine potential. And so Karen, as I said, has been a wonderful example of someone I worked with who was really tapped into her divine potential. And so we all have this ability. It's not just for a select few. It's a matter, again, if you're determined, if you really, again, have the time, if this is a part of your desire to be able to move into your soul pathway and soul mission. But it's been truly gratifying for me to do this work. And so it really is the best thing that ever happened to me that day on March 21st, 1993, when Gran showed up, that I've been devoted to this work. And I continue to grow. I continue to learn. And I know that with the help of all the masters and guides, that I'm helping to complete my mission work and to help myself to be a better person. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. And so I've been able to learn forgiveness, as Karen said, and I've been able to have a higher spiritual perspective of seeing that there's a reason for all things, that we come in with soul contracts. We don't have to play the victim role. We can see the bigger picture, and we can move through and help ourselves clear these issues so that we can move forward into our soul pathway and to the work we've come to do. So again, if this is what you're seeking, because I hear a lot of people say, what is my purpose? What is my mission? I hear that a lot in my work, that people are wanting to serve, but they don't really know how to do it. So if you feel that calling, if you feel directed, you can certainly contact me at leachapin.com. Take a look at my website. And again, every Monday morning, I teach the mystical teachings of Mary Magdalene, which are universal teachings, and they are practical teachings that help us in our daily life. So there's a lot that you can find on my website, as well as the sacred travels that I did 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago with my friend Jared. We went to 8 countries, and we brought forth channelings and information from these sacred sites that are, again, on my YouTube channel. So I'm hearing a ding.
No, forget the ding.
So anyhow, is that answers your question, Karen?
Yes. What's interesting is I went to see a psychic about 10 years or 8 years before I met you. And she said to me, she's in the Chicago area, she said, Karen, you need to forgive all these people. And she gave a list of people I need to forgive. I said, no, I don't. I mean, my mother, my father, my brother, blah, 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 blah. I'm writing down all these people. And she put down somebody I didn't even know yet. So it's like, okay, but what am I supposed to do with that? Mm-hmm. And then my first session with you is when you said that, I said, now I understand. Mm-hmm. I needed to hear it twice, but you were able to help me and guide me to what I needed to do. I went through all the emotions. I went through all the stages of forgiveness. You were there for me as I went through it. You just said, you were there, and it was, I couldn't have done this without you. I wouldn't have known what to do. I wouldn't have known how to heal. I wouldn't have known my purpose. And so it was such a powerful first session when I finally decided I'm going to call you back after.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
right. So what you offer your clients are, is when you cut to the chase with them and you offer them such meaningful advice, it's life-changing is what I'm saying. It's life-changing. So,
Well, I'm really grateful that I have my master's degree. I'm really grateful that I have my education because people work in the spiritual realm. If you're not well equipped, because working with people is delicate, and to me, I take it as a great responsibility, and I certainly would never want to hurt anybody. And so I'm really, really, really grateful that I have the education, training, and background to be able to combine my spiritual practice with my psychotherapy skills and training. That way, I feel well prepared to help people. I'm not overly stumped by people's stories. Once in a while, I'll get something that 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 I'm not that I don't feel like can be of assistance. I have people who feel that they have, again, like we talked about entity attachments with your dad, but for those people who work with or have, again, those entity attachments, sometimes I don't like to go into that realm. But with your story and with your dad, I wasn't working with him directly. We're just telling the story. But I know what I can do, is what I'm trying to say. I know what I can do and what I can't do. And so my job really is to help people to help them, with their emotions, to be able to heal so they can move forward and really live a happy life. Because, that's what we're really here to do. Life isn't really meant to be a struggle. Life can be difficult. We have challenges. We have lessons. We've gone through lots of difficulty as a part of our soul journey, but we can rise above it and find that happiness and joy.
yes. And during this COVID-19, this pandemic, it's been for me, a year of a lot of isolation and not being able to do what I usually what I want to do, and just actually being in the Midwest in Illinois, staying inside a lot in my home, that I felt, I then thought about my time with you and my purpose. What is my purpose during this COVID time? Like, I'm given all this opportunity to be home. And the first couple of months, I was losing my mind. I didn't know. I was depressed. I was anxious. Like, why am I can't handle being here and stuck in the house. It's got to be more than this. What can I do? And that's when I decided to take the sessions that we had done with this entity attachment, understanding who Ari Kaplan was, and it gave me the opportunity to start writing the second book. So actually, I am grateful for this, in some way, for this pandemic, because it allowed me the time to stay home and write. So I guess because of you, I don't look at things. I look at things as there's always an opportunity. There's always a silver lining. If something seems odd or different or dark or whatever, there's a silver lining. There's always something that we can do and learn about ourselves or others, or how we can help people during times when we look like when the times are difficult.
Well, that's very true, because there's a reason for all things. We may not understand them. And what Spirit had said last year during the COVID, that this was a time for people were in isolation or seclusion, because it was really important for people now to tap into their soul purpose. That people were if they were listening, they were now being guided into a new direction. And so for you decided to listen to your soul and start writing your book. For me, I was told that it was for me to teach. And so I've been teaching a lot more this year. And then around that time, I met Tiffany here, the show producer. I think it was back in April of last year. And I wasn't planning on having another podcast, or I had a radio show for 8 years, from 2007, 2015. And then I stopped that to finish my book, Divine Union. And I had no interest in doing another show. And then I remember talking to Tiffany, waiting to be interviewed. And it came out of my mouth that, did you have an opportunity for another show host? I was like, I wasn't planning on saying that. I don't know where that came from. I was like, I wasn't thinking about that. So this has given me another avenue. So this time of COVID is for us to be able to be creative, to look within, to begin to delve and understand how we can make a difference in the world and reinvent ourselves. And again, to take a look at the pieces within ourselves that need to be healed. So if you're missing the opportunity in some way and waiting for this to be over, I would suggest that you listen and ask your soul, what is your soul calling you to do, and what are you being felt or being guided to do with your own passion. So again, you're right, there's a reason for all things, and it's not all doom and gloom. We may not understand it, but if we listen from our soul, we'll always be guided. We only have about 5 more minutes left. I want to say, Karen, thank you so much for being on and helping me today to share my story, because I know I'm always interviewing other people. We've had you on in the past. And was there something you wanted to share about any contact information, if anybody wanted to contact you before we go?
Well, there's my name up there, Karen Kaplan. You can do KarenKaplan.com is my website if you want to learn more, a little bit about my book.
And to purchase your books.
Yeah, you can go to Amazon or Kindle and purchase my book, Descendants of Rygrid, Learning to Forgive, and just look up my name and you'll be able to find my book.
And she was going to have her...
I know that I was meant to write the second book. I know that there will be a movie, and I'm guessing that as I speak to many of my friends, they are saying that they love the script, but this entity attachment to my father will add so much more to the movie. So I'm hoping to either combine it or create a new script. But I'm thinking combining the story with my old script might be what will work and make a movie. So, we're holding that intention that it manifest into the now. So please, all you out there, please hold that intention for Karen's movie to be made manifest. And speaking of that, it is also my desire to hold the intention that my book, Divine Union, the love story of Jesus and Mary Magdalene, be made into a movie. It's really important to understand their sacred mission as well. So we are holding these intention, asking for your support, and we're sending it out to the universe. Let it come back to us in the now. So thank you, Ms. Karen. I appreciate it. I love you. I'm so grateful. You're my number one. Love you. I love you like a sister. I never had a sister, so you're my sister.
That's right. We are sisters. We have that.
All sisters.
We have that. We are soldiers. We have a crazy contract. So it's like, I still laugh about all that story. Yeah. I gotta go help the Jewish people. I swear to God, it was so bizarre.
You're crazy.
I'm crazy. I was totally crazy. But here we are, whatever it is, 10, 12 years later. And we're doing our thing, as we say. Yeah. We're doing our thing. We're moving on and carrying on. So thank you. We want to again thank you to Dr. Lauren Love and the staff at the Boston area hospitals for their support. And if you like this show and you would like to donate here to keep our show alive, to keep the Goldylocks Productions alive, you just donate through the super chats. And so I want to thank Tiffany White today, again, our show producer. She's fabulous. She does an amazing job of keeping our shows alive and in order. And for those who, again, want to learn more about me and my work, you can certainly go to my website, www.leachapin.com, and contact me at leachapin@gmail.com if you'd like to have a private session or just learn more about perhaps how my work can help you. Or if you'd like to host a class or be a part of a class, you can certainly take a look at my website and contact me, and I am open to assist. That is, I'm here to serve. So again, I want to say thank you, everyone, for this beautiful day. Happy spring to you, and just enjoy. And thank you, Miss Karen, and we will talk soon. So blessings to all. Namaste. So
namaste. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This month's broadcasting is sponsored by ICU Dr. Lauren Love, ICU nurses, technicians, and staff in the Boston area hospitals.